Hi na karibuni sana to another exciting episode of Youth Care Unit. Today we'll be discussing about a relationship. There are several types of relationship, talking of pastors with their members, parents with their children, and so on and so forth. But today we'll be discussing about that relationship that leads to marriage. And helping me discuss this, I've got Pastor Trizah Thuo with me in studio, yes. And I've got Dan. Karibuni sana.
Asante.
Yes, Pastor.
Yes.
Mapenzi imeanza kunisumbua. Can you help me by highlighting,
yes,
as a counselor, how it starts?
Okay. Mapenzi ni kawaida. Na kupenda mtu ni kawaida. Na kufikiria mtu fulani na ukawa na mvuto kwake ni kawaida. But ni vizuri pia kujua unavutwa kwa njia gani. Na ni kawaida kwa sababu miili yetu sisi ni binadamu. We are natural human beings. So we tend to love and we tend to be attracted to people. So today as we talk about a relationship that will eventually maybe lead to marriage, it is important to realize, uangalie kama moyo wako kweli unavutika kwa yule mtu. Na ni vizuri pia kujipa nafasi. Hata kama mapenzi imeanza kukusukuma kijana wangu, anza kujipatia nafasi. Usiwe wa kuendeshwa sana na mapenzi, bali wewe uende mbele ya mapenzi. Anza kuangalia yule mtu ambaye unavutwa kwake, what are the qualities, ni nini kinakuvuta kwake. Kwa mara nyingi wengine wanavutwa kwa sababu ya pesa, wengine wanavutwa kwa sababu umeona sura, lakini hujui tabia ya mtu. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri hata kama unavutwa na mapenzi, anza kuchunguza ni nini hasa kinakuvuruta kwa huyo mtu. Yes.
Dan, coming to you. Your experience maybe as a young person.
Experience? Oh, that's a hard question. I think for me, I followed a path that many people have followed. Once in primary school I had a girlfriend. And of course it's not serious, it's just that I sit next to this girl and all the other boys in school don't talk to her because she's Dan's girlfriend. And of course we didn't even have plans back then. So we went from there to high school, still trying to see how this thing works, because you can see other people are having relationships. But at some point, none of us worked. Went to college, met someone. Now I realized what a relationship really is. Fell in love. We dated. Actually, we dated for 5 years now. We're engaged. And I realized that relationships are not what I thought they were back then. They're totally different. Before I thought it was just we're together, we're having fun together. I realized relationships are a lot of work. It's a lot of sacrifice. And yeah, that's my experience. Right now I'm engaged, planning to get married later this year.
Wow, that's nice. Congrats.
Yes.
Pastor,
yes.
Maybe in Dan's case, and he's talking of that time when he was in primary.
Yes.
How do a parent understand that kid having that relationship?
When you realize that a child is in a relationship, what I would want parents to understand that it is very natural. And even them, I always tell parents, don't act like you are not there. And in fact, that's the most mistake that people make. They imagine that our children should not also relate like they used to relate. It is very important that you understand your child. Sit them down. I will see Dan has a girlfriend somewhere. I call him and I'll start telling him, be open with your children. Yes, Dan. Yes, kuna msichana, I know mnapendana, but realize sahizi you're not ready for marriage. Like Dan has given us his story of how he started primary. He had 2 girls that he used to play around with. He went to secondary, he still had 2 girls. But now when he's in college and when he's now working, he's realized, oh, this is a lifetime relationship. So it is good that at whatever stage, sit the child down and let them understand this relationship. Let it just be a friendship, because it's not leading to any marriage. In primary, you're not intending to marry. In secondary, you're not ready to marry. You do not even have a course. But when now you're like working class, he's ready to marry. He's already equipped. He's equipping himself to be a husband. And that lady who he wants to marry, his fiancée, is also equipping herself to be a wife. So there are those qualities, and I'm sure the girlfriend he had in primary is not the same one that he's marrying today, because he's been looking at the qualities. He's grown up in a relationship. He's grown up from primary relationship, secondary, and now where he is right now.
Dan, maybe you would help us by telling us the qualities that you look for in that lady.
Well, before, like those are the experiments.
Yes.
It was always like she said, no, Nasura, you see somebody from far, like, yeah, she's interesting, she looks beautiful, and you're attracted to her for physical reasons. Yeah. But the older you get, the more you realize this is somebody you're going to spend the rest of your life with. You need somebody who you can trust, somebody you can live in your house, you can trust with your children, somebody you can trust with your money, somebody who you know if anything goes wrong, you can talk to her and tell her this is what's going on. It's not just somebody you can hang out with and you're having fun. So first I think in terms of physical things, I say it's somebody you trust. And that's a physical thing, because over and above other physical things, I believe that right now, as a Christian, I've got into a relationship with a girl, not primarily because I want to be in a relationship, but because I feel it's God's purpose for me to be in a relationship. And I believe that's what should be the main thing. You should say, I think somebody should get to a point where you ask yourself, is it God's time for me to be in a relationship? And you ask and you're like, you see the Bible says, God says, it's not right for a man to be alone. You're like, okay, great. I want somebody. You tell God. And then you see if the person you're looking at, is it according to God's purpose? Are you walking in the same direction?
Yes.
Are you working towards the same goals according to God's opinion?
Yes.
Then if you realize that it is God's purpose and will, now you start looking at other things about trust, about other things like if you have common interests, if you have I'd say common interests. I really have to highlight that for common interests, because I think that is important to maintain you. Because if you have, let's say for example, if you're interested in traveling the world and somebody else interested in settling down, you have a problem. But primarily God's purpose.
Wow, that's nice. Pastor, maybe you can help us on the same, the qualities that you should do.
First of all, when you're looking for somebody that you eventually want to get married to, you look for a friend, somebody that you can relate to well, because eventually it starts with friendship. I'm sure before Dan reached that point of deciding this is the one, he had so many, and he selected among the many. Isn't it, Dan? And there are those qualities that when he has problems, does he have anybody to talk to? Or does this girl always come to him when she needs, when she wants, when she wants a favor from him? It has to be somebody that you're able to open up to. Just like the way he said, somebody you can trust fully. I live in my office. I have no problem that you're going to pick a coin. I can trust you with my heart. Because first of all, in a relationship, it's about your heart. So it's not even about what you have. It's about your heart. Because you're giving somebody your heart. Will this person be able to handle your heart? And that is what is affecting our relationships today. People don't want to take care of their spouse's hearts. If I give you my heart, are you ready to handle it and handle it well? That is what we should look up to. Somebody who is a friend from the beginning. And when it starts with friendship, it will end with friendship.
We are saying it starts from friendship. Dan, when you're with that lady and maybe in that friendship, when did you decide that now is the time to get into serious relationship? I actually, for me, I categorize a relationship headed towards marriage in this way. First, friendship, like you said, has to be somebody, not somebody you go and find on the street or on the bus. You see like somebody say, let's get married. Your friends for a duration of time, I don't think that's something you can say you've been friends for 10 years, it has to be 10 years. But after friendship, if you're interested, personally for me, because when I was interested in her, I approached her and I told her, hey, I'm interested in us getting to know each other better. So from there we entered into a period of dating. Dating is not preparing to get married. For me, dating was a period to see, is she a candidate for marriage? I'm dating exclusively her, true, but it is not at now we're going to get married. After dating for 2 years in college, we entered courtship because I proposed and we said, okay, let's get married. We agreed because I saw she has the qualities I'm looking for and all those things I said before about the purpose of God. And then we entered into courtship. Now courtship is not like dating. For me, courtship was now preparing to get married. The discussions are no longer about many things about, so when's the wedding, how many kids are interested in, what are your life goals and such things. Now it's towards marriage. So that courtship for me has taken 3 years, and now this is the 3rd year. So yeah,
you feel you're ready.
I feel I'm ready.
Yes.
On the same thing,
Yeah.
Dan is talking of courtship 3 years, and maybe there are those ladies you can approach and tell you, I cannot wait for that long.
You see, Dan's case is different. Every relationship moves differently. There are people who can even push for 1 year and they're ready to get married. The duration is what you plan between the two of you. You see, as per his goals, as per cut. Tuendelee. Ni mate pole. Au kuja na maji. He said that he's been courting for 3 years. That is as per their plan. They started their friendship that way. From the beginning, I'm sure when Dan met this lady, he highlighted what he wants. And he started checking for the qualities that he wants. The same thing with the lady. The lady is not here today. Maybe we'll also hear from her view. Whether she has also been checking whether Dan has the qualities. Because I'm imagining she did not just accept to be married by Dan because she had found a guy who has space. She has also been checking the qualities and trying to mix and match, and she realized that Dan is the right person for her. So give yourself time. So the duration, I always encourage my youth, or as I talk to people, as I counsel people, I tell them, give yourself time. But the duration is between the two of you. It can be 3 years, it can be 10 years, it can be 2 months, it can be a relationship that is purposed by God. Will go in the direction of God, and none of the two people shall feel affected by the time. So if you meet a lady and she's not ready to wait for 3 years, I would also want to ask you, why are you telling her 3 years? What is your goal? She should understand. I told you she has to be a friend. She should understand, why are you talking about 3 years? Maybe 3 years is when you'll be ready. So if she's not ready to wait, then I think that is a relationship that will not help you anywhere. Yeah. You agree. You become friends from the beginning. You start agreeing on 1, 2, 3. Every relationship you have to keep agreeing and agreeing and agreeing. Yes.
Again, talking of time, Dan, is there like an age limit that maybe you say I will marry at this age?
I don't believe there's an age limit. Because if we look at even society, before colonialists came, in traditional African society, people used to get married really early. And nowadays, as we progress, people are getting married later. But I think it all depends on many factors, including society and economy. Because I think before you decide to get married, you should be able to sustain a marriage. I believe before a man decides, I want to marry a girl, he should be able to support himself first before he thinks of supporting a family. So if a person gets stable early and he feels he's mature early, and he finds somebody who's interested in getting married early, you can't stop him. And if somebody says, give me till I'm 40, you can't tell them, you'll be too late, don't get married at 40. So there are always factors to consider. But personally, I think a person should get into a serious relationship when they're mature enough to handle a relationship, a serious relationship.
Pastor, on the same, talking of age and putting in mind that we've got a lot of pressure from the society.
I realize that we are really giving pressure to our children and to our youth. But just like Dan said, this is an arrangement. I am planning to get married at 30. I want to have achieved this and this and this before I get married. Because as he said, don't get married to somebody who's not even ready to get married to. Don't get married yourself as a lady if you're not even being mentored for marriage. So I would not put any age limit, but I always believe as you plan your life, as you go through your career, you should leave a space for getting married. Getting married and getting married at the right time to the right person. Don't rush into marriage.
And talking of maybe pressure, can you talk to our parents? Maybe they also give their...
I would like to talk to our parents. Let's be patient with our children. I'm sure God, the Bible says that He alone knows the plan that He has for us, and His plans are for good and not for evil. For your child, you've been praying for that child to have a spouse. The right time will come and the right spouse will come. Don't rush your children. Don't bring them partners. Let them move with in a natural way into a relationship and eventually get married to the right partners that they want. And again, parents, stop choosing spouses for your children. You are leading these children into lifetime problems, because that your son or your daughter will be forced to marry somebody who they do not love. Let them move naturally to a love relationship.
We'll be breaking for a short break. We're still discussing relationship. Don't go too far, we'll be right back.
Kwa habari za kuaminika, habari zisizoegemea upande wowote.
Jiunge nami Nelson Kariuki.
Mimi hapa ni Bafa Ntoyan.
Na mimi Monica Wairimo.
Mimi hapa Michael Tuma.
Na mimi Titus Ouma.
Kila Jumapili saa 12 jioni wakikuletea mkusanyiko wa taarifa zilizogonga vichwa vya habari wiki nzima.
Na katika matukio ugani ungana nami Peter Makao na mwenzangu
Ambani Hachmon.
Katika kurunzi ya wiki kila siku ya Jumapili saa 12 jioni.
Makinika tukupashe.
Welcome back. This is Youth Care Unit. We are discussing about a relationship. There is a very sensitive issue, Pastor, of age. When these guys are dating, what should be the gap?
All right, for me, I advocate 5 years difference, because at that time when the guy is 5 years and the lady is less by 5 years, they're able to reason together. But even 2 to 3 years, you will still reason together. But it is good to get somebody who's even mature in mind, and so that even the lady will see this as the head of the family and will be able to submit. Yes.
Dan, on the same issue, can you marry an older lady than you?
I personally don't have a problem with it. Of course, I think there's a place it will become weird. If let's say there was a 10-year difference and the woman is in her 40s, that'll be a bit difficult to explain to other people. But like we said, if it's God's purpose, if God brings two people together, anything can work.
What about your take on that, Pastor?
I basically would not really advocate for, especially a man marrying a very old person. But it works vice versa. For a lady, I think to some extent she's able to get married. She's married to an older person, she'll be able to submit. But for a young man like Dan, today I think he's about 25, 26, 27. If he's 27 and he's getting married to a 70-year-old, I'm thinking he's an opportunist. I would think he's an opportunist. He's not going there because of love. He's going there because of what he's gaining from that person.
Waiting for somebody to die.
Yeah, and then he can inherit.
So according to you, it is not right?
For me, I would look for the right age. We said again, this is a friend who you have similar ideas. You know, I'm imagining a 70-year-old and Dan, 27. What do they have in common? In any case, he would even be embarrassed looking at this lady, an old person undressing, and you know, it doesn't. For me, I wouldn't advocate for that. As a pastor, I do not advocate for that. Yes.
Let's talk the whole issue of courtship.
Yeah.
And what's the process? As in, are there crises in courtship? Things just roses? I mean,
in courtship, it is the determinant whether the relationship will last, whether the relationship will move into marriage. Because the courtship is the last process before you get married. And this is the time that you're testing, how is this lady? Can I totally trust her? Can I totally, just as I said from the beginning, can I totally trust her with my heart? What does she do when I'm in trouble? Does she stand by me when I'm in problems? You are doing the final touches. It's like an exam. It's when you're doing a KCSE, you're trying to put the best mark so that you don't fail the exam. So in courtship, that is where the most hurdles come in. And that's where, and I always say, you better break a courtship than break a marriage. You better, when you realize that there are several issues that you had not noted in a lady or not noted in a man, in courtship, break that relationship. Because when you get into marriage, you'll not be able to break that. And it will hand you into so many problems which would have stopped in courtship. Alternatively, learn to work with the weaknesses. Because what I believe, none of us is perfect. I always say that. So in Dan and the lady, there are various things that will not be perfect. But in courtship, they should see if they can work out what Dan doesn't like and what the lady doesn't like in him. Yes.
The same one on courtship. Should there be boundaries, or how far should it go?
Of course. For Dan, I expect him to be a Christian. I don't expect him to be sleeping with a lady. And as at now, I believe he's not doing it because it's not allowed. The word of the Lord has refused that. There are boundaries. How far do they go? Yes, I know they are ready to get married. But as far as intimacy, that is X. Dan, I hope you're not doing it. Yeah.
And on the same, Dan, on courtship, maybe you bring us on some of the crises that you face when maybe courting.
Wow. Actually, what you asked about crises in courtship. Like she said, courtship was where the hurdles became the most. You know, before in dating, you're trying to put a good image. You're trying to put your best foot forward. You're going through problems. You don't have to know you're broke. You don't have to know this is going on.
You live and borrow.
You live and borrow to make sure you're taking her out on a date. Stuff like that. You don't want to appear like you're going through stuff. But in courtship now, you know, you're opening yourself up more to this person because you really put a ring on her finger. You met her parents. It's no longer just something you're doing, sneaking around and whatnot. So that's when the truth starts coming out, you start seeing a person for who they really are. All the weaknesses that were hidden start coming out. All the weaknesses you are trying to hide start coming out, and then you start thinking about it seriously. You're thinking, we are in our 20s now. If we are anticipating to live until we're in maybe 100, ideally, there are 70 more years to live. And you start asking, can I live with this person for 70 years? If we're fighting every weekend, can I do this for the rest of my life?
Oh yes.
So in courtship, some of the fights, some of the hurdles we fought were when the truth comes out and the real person comes out, you start starting to think seriously about it. It's not really a problem in itself, but I think that's when you start feeling the real solidity of a relationship. You realize this is not for fun time. This is not just dating. This is not going out for lunch and watching movies. This is planning something serious. It's a lifelong commitment, and that pressure makes you toughen up. You know, like I can go to the gym and work out, and it toughens you up. It's hard. It gets harder, and the harder it gets, the tougher you get. So that's how it is in courtship.
I would like to hear your final takes, and especially I would like from Pastor, we hear when you talk of parent interference, maybe the tribal marriages, this guy is broke, no cash. Just to talk on that. Just
as I said, the Bible says that I alone know the plans I have for you. You parent, if your son brings home a daughter, a lady, and he tells you that he wants to marry him, wants to marry this lady, do not interfere. I think he has taken time to look at the qualities. Like for me as a pastor, when I got married, when I got married, my husband really had hurdles because of explaining why he's marrying a person with a disability. I have a disability. But let your children make the choice that they want to make, because they have checked on everything and they have realized that that's the best.
Parents' interference, like we've said, a person shouldn't get into a serious relationship headed towards marriage until they're mature. So by the time I'm deciding I'm ready to handle a family, I'm ready to bring a woman into my house and to start thinking of kids and stuff like that, I believe I've matured enough in my mind. So I think parents should realize that a person is mature enough to make decisions for themselves. They have considered all the factors and they have come to the decision that they've reached. So they should come and give advice, counsel, but leave the decision to the decision makers. Whisper and say, we think you should, we think you shouldn't, but the decision is finally between the two of them.
Thank you very much for making time to watch us. It has been Youth Care Unit discussing on relationship. Till next time, God bless you.